And Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that man has will he give for his life. But put forth your hand now, and touch his bone and flesh, and he will curse you to his face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, he is in your hand, but save his life. So when Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot to his crown, and he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Do you still retain your integrity? Curse Jah and die. But he said unto her, You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of Jah, and shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. Rastafari. Greetings, giving thanks. Ras reporting ahead of the time, one stone at a time, at the oppressor's face. So we're going to go ahead and cover this company G4S that we did a small initial presentation the other day on. I wanted to make a quick correction. I did fudge the numbers a little bit. They have 620,000 employees. They actually took a net income loss last year of 342 million, but that wouldn't have anything to do with the employee's salary. They say the operating income is 56 million. I'd have to look at their books a little bit more thoroughly to find out on average how much each employee is making. But you know, generally what we see is public-owned companies, employees make less over time. You know, if you have a small business, that's why in this country, as far as the major genetic makeup, race, whatever you want to call it, the highest paying per capita race is the Middle Eastern origin. White is next, and Latina is last. So why is that? Well, it's because a lot of the Middle Eastern people have small businesses. They don't work for the corporations. Some of them do. Some of them have extra special expertise. But a lot of them do start small businesses. So on average, they do make more. Because what happens in the corporation is, it's a cult. You know, you're not just joining a company. You think you're joining a company to work your way up the ladder and make a better salary and make your life better. But you're really joining to become a member of that cult. And that cult's going to tell you how to live, regardless. Because if you don't conform and live the way that the rest of the cult members live, then you're going to stick out and you're never going to move up the ladder. So you might as well go find another cult to work for. So anyway, this company G4S operates in 125 countries, 620,000 employees. It's formed with a bunch of mergers. Basically, there was a company that started in 1960 called Group 4, and that merged with a group called Falk, which merged with the Wackenhut Corporation, and they've bought a bunch of companies on down the line. Touchcom, Secure Monde International Limited, Shearmore International Engineering Limited, All-Star International, Adesta, and Hill & Associates Consulted Limited. So they're involved in some kind of a risk mitigation consulting services as well as their security services. And they can be white collar services or blue collar. In other words, they can have guards, or they can use their computer software program to protect people's data and things like that. I mean, they own companies that are involved in security industry all across the board. They also own Skycom and Cotswold. So they obviously want a global presence. They're the third largest employer in the world, and they seem to want to continue to grow. They've had a few issues, few lawsuits. People have gotten killed, strangled by guards and stuff. But overall, nothing seems to be stopping them. G4S supplies security equipment and services for use in the Israel prisons, checkpoints, and settlements at the West Bank. It also helps maintain Israel's prison system. In 2014, Desmond Tutu and other protested G4S's involvement with Israel prisons. On July of 2012, the U.S. Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Laboratory, protected by a U.S. subsidiary of G4S, was breached by 3 protesters, Megan Rice, Michael Wally, and Greg Obed, who got as far as the outer wall of the uranium building and allegedly daubed it with slogans and splashed it with human blood. So they were arrested. They're from the Transform Now Plowshares, a part of Plowshares movement. They killed that man Jimmy Mubinga on a airplane. And in October 2013, BBC reported that there have been prisoners been tortured at Mangar prison in South Africa. Well, you know, BBC's reporting it. Must be a big deal, right? Dozens of nearly 3,000 inmates at the G4S prison have been tortured using electroshock and force injections. G4S said it was investigating the allegations. Well, I mean, that's the problem. You can't have a public company investigating allegations because they're always going to try to cover it up. Always. And not only are they going to try to cover it up to save their own behinds, but they're going to try to cover it up because that's what's appropriate within the law, man's law. Because their job as manager is to maximize profit for shareholders. And part of doing that is to cover up any issues that they might have. So you see this company all over the place. I see them over here in the county courthouse. And it's a British-owned company, and it's off the London Stock Exchange. So it's very difficult for average investors in the U.S., let's say, or other places in the world, to just invest in other stock exchanges around the world. It costs more money, it costs more upfront costs. So I just find it very interesting and ironic that the British have formed this company that's now securing us here in the United States, as if we don't have any sovereignty whatsoever. And that's what this system of laws is. I mean, we talk a lot about the exceptionalism of the United States, or the individualism, and the idea of prosperity and the American dream. But we're owned. We're being controlled by external forces. So there is no exceptionalism. We pay in our income tax, right? Everybody just gets a check every month. They don't even think about the income tax that's being pulled out of their check or where that's going. And it's going to debt because we have too much debt. Because apparently we borrowed too much from our own government. Which just means that other people have invested in the treasury notes and they want theirs first, because the bondholders get paid first under our system of laws. But it leaves us to hang. It leaves us hang to dry. And and you get an impoverished society, impoverished world. People don't own stuff, they live here, but they don't own nothing. Now, you know, you can continue to push people down, you continue to oppress people, but you may get a reaction. And that's what we're seeing now in places like Ferguson.